Absolutely. Thank you so much, Sandra. And such a pleasure to be here today with so many of our members and a wider set of partners. So really excited to kind of use this first discussion as a jumping off point to see how peer learning can support actions on sargassum in the Eastern Caribbean region. So I have a short PowerPoint to share with you all. Let me see if I can put it up properly. So here we are. Wonderful. I'm going to start just with a quick introduction of who we are. Who is CLGF? But maybe before that, just to kind of show you what the agenda for our meeting is going to be. So as I said, a short introduction of CLGF, a little bit of scene setting on why this is such an issue in the Caribbean, and especially kind of where are some of the entry points for local governments. Then, of course, the main body of the discussion really needs to be hearing from you and that exchange on, what are some of the key challenges, what are the specific responsibilities for local government when dealing with Sargassum, and maybe what are some of the opportunities, how do we think we could maybe work together on this? And then, just a little bit on kind of like timeline and next steps for how we think we can work over this coming period in this area. But to start, okay, why is it? Oh, there we go. So to start, just to tell you a little bit about who CLGF is. So we are a network of local government actors from across the 56 countries of the Commonwealth. We bring together ministries with responsibility for local government associations, cities and local authorities, as well as research and professional institutions. We work in 4 key focal areas. So, of course, we advocate on issues around local democracy, good governance, decentralization, both at an international level through kind of the UN and other key international forums, but also at the Commonwealth level, so towards the heads of government of those 56 countries on issues of importance to local government. We undertake projects supporting capacity building, networking, and programmatic support on key thematic areas of importance to local government. So in the past, we've done quite a lot of work on, for example, local economic development, on climate adaptation, on localizing the sustainable development goals. So really led by the interests and asks of our membership. Then, of course, we network our members, and that's part of what we're looking at doing today. And you'll see we have a number of thematic networks within our organization focused on specific areas. And then we look at that research and knowledge exchange element, really looking at how we can bridge that gap between academic research and the needs of practitioners on the ground. I'm based in our headquarters in London, linked to the Commonwealth Secretariat, but we also have regional offices across our regions of work. And Sandra, as you know, heads up our Caribbean regional office, which is located in Trinidad and Tobago. So as I said, we have a number of networks that we either lead or co-lead. The Commonwealth Sustainable Cities Network is the network under which this piece of work falls. But we also have our Women in Local Government Network, which I know some of you are already engaged with. We're part of a coalition of actors that form the Commonwealth Youth for Sustainable Urbanization. So looking at how we can work cross-sectorally on youth engagement in sustainable urbanization. And then we've got our research advisory group, which brings together our academic network. So just to tell you a teeny little bit more about the CSCN. So the Commonwealth Sustainable Cities Network, which began in 2015, looks at really supporting peer learning between cities, looking at practical solutions to issues around urbanization. We work very much with big cities, medium-sized cities, small cities and towns. So really across kind of like the wide breadth of what local government looks like across the Commonwealth. And there's a strong focus within that network on leadership and governance, but also really like city and local government-led approaches. So this kind of networking piece that we're going to be taking forward on Sargassum will fall within our Sustainable Cities Network. So I think we all know that this is a key topic in the Caribbean, but it's nice just to kind of like refresh ourselves. It's been estimated that the Sargassum challenge is collectively costing Caribbean territories 120 million annually in terms of just the cleanup of Sargassum. The beaches are being smothered, fishing gear and the fishing industry is being impacted. There's a major impact on tourism, as well as on public health and coastal livelihoods more widely. So this is a major issue. Some of the real challenges there are around the unpredictability of where the blooms will grow and where they will come on land. And some of the key issues specifically for local governments are around kind of how do we increase public awareness in this issue? How do we partner with kind of a wider set of authorities on the safe collection and disposal? How do we protect existing economic sectors and livelihoods? But also, are there opportunities for building new industries out of this influx, and what kind of small businesses or small scale initiatives might be able to be fostered at the local level. So just a little overview of existing initiatives. So there's a number, of course, of existing national management plans on Sargassum. At a national level, and then there's also regional programs which are working. So it's a pleasure to have our colleague from the SARC project here with us. But there's also a program being implemented by UNDP. There's the SARG-COP2 program, which is being funded under the Interregulation Caribbean programming, looking at monitoring and oversight. The OECS Commission is leading on a Sargassum management program with kind of specific focal areas. And then there's the Sargassum Hub, which is looking to kind of bring together both documentation, but also project information and activities into one digital space for ease of access. Our programmatic funding is being provided by the European Union. And as part of that, we've also been engaging with the EU Caribbean Global Gateway conferences on Sargassum, looking at how, from our perspective, local government can feed into those bigger economic investment programs that the EU is looking to support in conjunction with national governments across the Caribbean. So why this small pilot project? So I think there's really kind of four focal areas that we think are key, but we really want to hear from you as well to make sure that you think that we're, capturing all of the key challenges. But towns and communities in the Eastern Caribbean are very much facing similar challenges. So, we want to think about, what is it that we can do to improve public awareness and increase public awareness? What are the tools that are already available, and what tools could be useful to be shared kind of across the island nations? I think there's also an issue around how can we support better coordination with other authorities, be those national governments, specific departments, and how are we at local government level really maximizing our ability to support that removal? Then, of course, there's these issues around supporting the local economy, both as existing and emerging, which I think could be a really interesting place for peer exchange. And just in general, how can we prepare maybe more proactively for the unpredictable blooms and the influx? So hopefully, peer learning is a place where we can really draw on experience to support those four goals. So we will be able to coordinate a network in this period 2026 to 2027. And the idea was to focus on the Eastern Caribbean in a first instance, to look at how we can support kind of transforming Sargassum from a problem to an opportunity and strengthen the local response for sustainable coastal economy. So that's kind of the focus that we would like to take on this work. And maybe just to kind of be very upfront about what our programmatic work can and cannot do. So this is a small program. It's not a program that's going to be funding the procurement of equipment or extensive kind of activities. What it is looking to do is put in place a peer learning network, which will allow for sharing of practical experience, really looking to identify some realistic improvements, support local authorities in developing action plans, hopefully linking into national and regional kind of programs, and do some testing of some pilot activities on the ground, which hopefully could then be further replicated. So what we're really looking for from the members of this network would be, engagement, both, leadership engagement. So both political leadership, but also administrative leadership engagement into the network. We're very much looking to make this a network which is looking to openly share experience, both positive and negative, so that we can be learning from each other. And we would really welcome, your leadership in defining what the topics we move forward with in this work should be. And the idea is to really work towards something that can be practical. So looking at, what kind of practical reforms, changes, programs can we suggest to strengthen local government's response and strengthen local government's contribution into a wider national and regional response. So that really brings me to the questions that we already shared with you, which are the questions for discussion in this session today. So we really want to hear from you around what are some of the main challenges that you're facing as local authorities with regard to addressing Sargassum in your community. I think it would also be very useful and helpful to hear about what are your specifically mandated responsibilities in terms of addressing these issues. Do you have public health as part of your mandate? And then does that mean that these are responsibilities that fall squarely at your door? But also beyond those statutory responsibilities, what kind of actions have you or your the local governments within your country been taking on Sargassum, and what do you think would be useful to share in a forum like this? And then going forward, what are kind of focal areas that you would like to see a regional exchange focus on? So what would you like us to mobilize around? What would you like us to push as thematic areas, both in a peer-to-peer kind of discussion environment, but also working towards opening the door for funding to local government? What are some of the thematic areas that would be the most impactful for you and for your community? So colleagues, this is the main meat of our discussion today. I'm very happy to open the floor now. If there is someone brave who would like to be the first speaker, over to you.
I should point out to you at this stage that we have since been joined by Councillor Devon Warner from Barbuda, and we also have from Nevis, we have Thema Ward from Nevis, who is the Senior Environmental Officer.
Wonderful. So maybe what we could do is, colleagues from both Nevis and Barbuda, we did do a round of introductions at the beginning of the call. Maybe you would like to introduce yourselves and maybe kind of share with us just a little bit your perspective and your interests in terms of this group and where you think peer learning could be most useful to you.
Good morning. Thema Ward here, Senior Environmental Officer in the Department of Physical Planning and Environment, Nevis. I hope to get some knowledge and some insights of what the other territories do regarding the Sargassum issues and ways to make use of it, such as, I've read Santo Domingo, like the Dominican Republic, they had partnered, I read something where they partnered with a company in Sweden to make blocks out of sargassum, as well as in Mexico. So it's just getting insights on what we can do to deal with the issues at hand.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Seema. That's great. And can we hear from our other new joiner?
Councillor
Good morning.
Devon.
Good morning.
I'm Cecil Joseph. I'm from Dominica, former mayor of the city of Roseau for 12 years. Fortunately or unfortunately, I still do enjoy the work of local government. And so I've made it my purpose, or made it my business, to be part of this important discussion that we're going to be having this morning. I realize the first segment of your question for discussion is dealt on the local authorities face. I looked at it as a combination of challenges. And one of it is the operational aspect of it. The operational aspect would deal with the whole concept as councillors. Many times we don't have the necessary resource, human resource that will help us to identify and to be able to work within those type of challenges. Most times these challenges they migrate to our shores for the very first time, and we may not have the necessary prerequisites that would make us understand what needs to be done and how to be done. So the knowledge base, the academic knowledge base is not, I think, really readily available for nowhere in the region, to include that of Trinidad. Because when I looked at the weed, that it does not only affect Dominica, it does affect Trinidad to a great extent, Barbados, St. Lucia, Montserrat, Martinique, Guadeloupe, Antigua, and all of us under the same watch as to how we should tackle this, especially looking at the environmental. But I think the DALCA individual in Dominica has quite a lot of information from discussing IFA in those other aspects of these challenges. So I think what we need to do is to get from you all, especially from the CLGA, the Commonwealth Local Authority. I know we have a forum here, but I'm talking about the local authority from the Commonwealth. We would need to get this bigger body who has maybe the greater experts and knowledge base of these situations. Because if it comes from West Africa, it meant that it's also affecting West Africa, and by so they would have the necessary knowledge base to really help us in that development. So one of my recommendations in terms of dealing with the operational aspect is how can you all from the Commonwealth help us to get that human resource that would help us to have a greater understanding as to how to tackle it. Because from my knowledge and bare knowledge is that it can be something that we can use for economic purposes in the future. So if we know what West Africa is actually doing, how they tackle it from within the region, I think getting that knowledge and you helping us to get that knowledge, working through the Caribbean, the CLGF, if we can get that knowledge base from them, and we're working as a big umbrella, I'm sure that we are almost halfway in dealing the problem. So I will pause there for the time, and if I'm required to give some more, much more knowledge in my other areas, I would do so. I should also say too, when I introduced myself, as I said, as former mayor of the city of Roseau, I'm presently the general manager of the national radio station in Dominica. So, and some other portfolios that I don't really need to discuss at this time, but I would just like to say exactly what I do at present. Thank you very much for listening.
Wonderful. Very, very pleased to have you with us. And I think that kind of like wider learning agenda is absolutely something that we would look to mobilize. So, while we represent local government across the Commonwealth, we are also linked into wider networks in the Caribbean and Latin America. So, you know, we definitely have that potential to draw on what Dominica is doing, what Mexico is doing as well. So we definitely can go more wide. I think we can also, you know, feedback to our membership in West Africa, where I'm unsure that it's such an important issue, but I know that we can very much work widely as well in our network around the wider impacts of Sargassum. So that is definitely something that we want to bring into this network. No question. Very much looking forward to do that. So I think, Sandra, you said that we also had Barbuda and both Nevis and
Nevis.
Nevis, sorry.
And Barbuda, Mr. Devon Warner, Councillor.
Yes. Wonderful.
Are you guys waiting for me to introduce myself?
Yes, please.
Hi.
Yes,
okay,
please.
So I'm Devon Warner. I'm the chairman of health on the Barbuda Council. I'm also a member of the Barbuda Fishermen's Association and the fisherman myself. So not only from the position of local government that we face the problems that have been faced by sargassum, but I face it as a fisher independently and in the group as the member of the Fishermen Association. I'm actually looking forward to the session today and future sessions. And joining with me is Mr. Burton. He's actually driving since we're in Antigua. He's also a member of the Barbuda Council.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Mr. Warner. And maybe, you know, coming from both that health and fisheries perspective, you could share with us maybe what some of your priorities would be in terms of kind of how a peer network might be able to support some of those priorities for you.
I didn't hear exactly what you asked just now.
Oh, sorry. I was just asking if you were able to share either from that health mandate perspective that you have, or from the fisheries perspective around the kind of things that you would like to see a peer network work towards addressing. You know, do you feel like, is it the economic impact on existing economic sectors like fisheries that is kind of the major issue? Is it the health impacts that you feel are the major issue? It'd be great to get your inputs now that we're already hearing from you.
Okay, so from a fisheries perspective, yes, there is serious economic fallout where a lot of the nearshore fishing beds for lobster and certain fish that we harvest around Barbuda face serious are under serious attack from sargassum. From a health standpoint, a lot of the beaches that our people would utilize for therapy are just for pleasure. A lot of them have been closed off because of the large deposits of sargassum that are on the shoreline. But you know, those for now, I would just share with you, and I guess as we go deeper into the conversation, and my head is cleared a little bit around what we're discussing and so on, I can always add to the discussion.
Super. Thank you so much. And I mean, I do think that issue on health and beach closure is a major issue. I know when we were recently in St. Lucia, it was a major issue, which is just continuing to go on. So maybe we could hear from our colleagues in St. Lucia about some of the challenges and some of the responses that you're participating in and how those are happening.
Good morning. Luke and Modest for Council for Middle of 2020 Council. I just up a while ago. In terms of the impact on the sargassum, it's bright and it goes along the shore, and the person that's looking at each income tourism wise to the community. Health and well, South people should know more about that on effect it will have on the seagrass bed and the coral reef. I did a short program with them, so they would have more knowledge on what damage it would do. You get complaints from the fishermen sometimes saying they have the issues with them. And working in the community, you get persons saying sometimes the sargassum produces gases and they complain about headaches and eye irritations. And that is something like when it starts, it's a whole 2 weeks. People are always complaining about their breathing and their eyes being irritated. Like I said, the headaches, among other things. So it is a situation that continues when it comes health wise. And like I said, the fishermen, they do complain about their gears too getting damaged. They said they believe that the whatever the sargassum sends out, they always have to change in their gears because it's damaged. So this is what we deal with mostly community based. If somebody is looking to have a waterfront business, like a little boutique or something, it will affect that. It will not be suitable to have something else. So if we deal with the situation, maybe these things will come to pass. And then I'm not saying it will happen right away, but it will come to pass to see the change. See that local governments are trying to make a change to assist the community.
Mm-hmm. No, absolutely. And I think those are issues which are recurrent across the region. Renela Williams, please come in.
Yes, so to speak on the challenges posed. Okay.
Oh, there we go. We hear you well now.
The Fisheries Division on the island is the authority dealing with the Sargassum issue on island. But one of the challenges, or few of the challenges I think we face, is that they lack the formal mandate, and budget, of course. And one of the most important things, the cross-sectoral coordination with the Ministry of Tourism, Ministry of Health, and even Office of Disaster Management. And these areas, I think, are important because this sargassum issue, it deals with the health. It can create a public health issue if the Ministry of Tourism is not involved in collaborating with the management. These two can affect our economy in terms of revenue, the bus drivers, taxi, tourism industry, the health department needs to be on board as well. So I think this is a challenge, and local commissioner is there. I think he can maybe shed some light on that, especially with the disaster management, Mr. Tuse. I think we need to have some kind of collaboration where all these ministries are involved and working together in managing. Also, there is no systematic collection of the volume of sargassum that lands on our shores, the impacts, the early warning, the uses. We have no, numbers. There are no numbers. Status. There's no data. There's no website where you can, go to and have a view, of what's really happening. The cleanup issue where this reoccurs occasionally. I think locals try to deal with the matter themselves on the raking or even the burial aspect of it. But there's no pre-planned, there's no specific site protocols in place as to how to manage even what lands on our shores, the landing sites, the landing areas. So locals they might attempt to deal with the situation themselves, but because there's no strategic management in place, it happens differently. Everyone manages it differently. And so what will happen is you'll find we have a lot of burial sites all over areas where the sargassum lands. So those are a few areas I think that we also we have reports that maybe some farmers are using it as fertilizers, but there is no commercial scale. There are no initiatives, no operational initiatives. So I think farmers were further discouraged to use it due to the presence of heavy metals. However, we have no control over that. And so that might still be happening in some areas on the island. So I think we need to have a lot of sensitization, Mr. Tuse, public meetings, but again, with the necessary ministries to help manage it. And I think we need to have an adaptive cycle, a phase where we have the how to deal with it before influx, how to deal with it during the influx, and a post-influx management strategy plan. So that's all I'll say for now on the challenges, and hopefully we can get back to them. Maybe Mr. Tuse has some things that he wants to add in terms of what I've just added. Thank you.
Yeah, just want to add what we must bear in mind as well is the volume.
I'd like to take from Miss.
Please, Mr. Toussaint, go ahead.
Oh, I just wanted to add as well, just to support Ms. Williams, is what we've noticed is the volume. I mean, the volume, particularly coastal areas, is quite a bit. And as she indicated, there has to be some concerted collaboration among key stakeholders, including the disaster management, the local fishermen, the local authorities, the village councils, Tong City Urban as well, the fisheries division, the Ministry of Agriculture. I think, as she clearly indicated, there needs to be greater collaboration. I think, in my own view, it's operated individually. Fishermen do their thing, but it's overwhelming for them. You also have to look at the health issue. These things smell. And so I'm not sure if there's any health risk, but I know for a fact that these things, do have some stench that is unbearing to villagers who have complained of the fact that they continue to take that stench. That I'm not sure if there's any scientific research that has been done. There's any relationship between health risk and the Sargassum weed, but certainly it is something from a health standpoint that has to be seriously addressed. And I think there is need for, as I indicated, some concerted effort in Dominica so that we can work collaboratively in ensuring that, one, we build awareness. We have a plan, as she indicated, because we have to be these things seem to be unpredictable. So you have to predict the unpredictable. And how do you cope as a community, as coastal areas, as a local authority, and as a country, as an island in general? So I think that is very critical. But it's really a challenge. It's a volume. It's quite a bit. It's a lot, and it requires a lot of work, a lot of effort. But ultimately, collaboration, I believe, is the key if we are to move that process forward.
No, absolutely. Thank you so much, Mr. Toussaint. I think, one of the things in kind of preparing for this session was we were looking at some of the national strategies, and Dominica does have a quite kind of comprehensive national strategy. So, it's already in a place where that, the framework for that collaboration is kind of being put in place. But thinking about what that practically looks like on the ground could be something that we could take forward as kind of like a focal area for this work going forward. So I'm sorry, Denry South, I saw your hand up, but we were in Dominica, but now let us go to St. Lucia. Please, over to you.
Okay, it's okay. I mean, everything that everybody contributed, it's similar to what I actually pointed out. I have many points, and since we just said it has a strong and pleasant smell, and I think these are the things that we have to always, basically deal with. I don't know what it could do, in the future, but I do believe that we will have some repercussions, because I heard that different persons state that they have headaches, and different people, get irritations in the eyes, it makes them sick, really. So I just feel like something we have to, get some sort of way so we could use this, because it really does a lot of harm in the area, especially, you know, in the different communities on the east side, because we're basically on the east side, we're in Dennery, so it has a lot of effects. It has effects on tourism, it has effects on the fishing, you know, damage to our the marine ecosystem. You know, the beaches, we cannot even use the beaches anymore. So, you know, beach vendors, nobody could come to the beaches. Basically, the beach is just a mess. We have it right now, and it's built up. It's built up. It looks like a mountain, you know, in simple. So I believe that we need to find ways, and you know, so we could at least get this better. You know, it's really bad, and I really appreciate this moment so we can discuss on how we're going to make this better. Yeah.
Great. Thank you for that. I mean, I think it's very clear that, you know, there's a lot of these similar challenges. It would be great. I know we had someone here from St. Lucia who is part of the program that's bringing the different councils along the Eastern Coast and St. Lucia together. Maybe, are you able to tell us a little bit about the coordination mechanisms that you already have in place that you're working on? Please go ahead. I see you unmuting.
That's me, right?
Yes, please go ahead.
All right. The challenges that we also have is the issue of finance, and for me that's a great area that we need to deal with. It's a great area that we must deal with, because finance helps in the coordination of doing proper management of the Sargassum weed. The challenge is it's real. Like I would like to see that we make plans for hurricane season, and so government, central government and local governments, they put budgets and plans and strategies in event that there is a hurricane. The hurricane comes from the same path with Sargassum, the same west coast into the Atlantic and into the west of most of the Caribbean seas, also the Caribbean side of the Atlantic side of the Caribbean. And so we don't make plans because we are not aware as to the movement of this current. But we have observed that it comes sometimes after February into the months of June, July. And there comes a time where it is a little bit more dormant in the third quarter of the year. And so we need to start looking at the issue of the necessary resource people to deal with the limited man resource that we have. So if we can get experts that can really help in directing how this can be tackled, it would have been of great importance for us. Also the issue of the necessary equipment and transportation, because councils of the region, we are not that as good as central government in terms of finances and even the necessary human resource that is required. Some councils, they're the biggest numbers, maybe Trinidad, maybe 100, 150. In Dominica, maybe 25. Maybe in St. Lucia, I talk about major offices, maybe in St. Lucia, maybe 12. And so we don't have what it takes in terms of the necessary human resource and manpower. So I think that's where we require some assistance. So that for me is of great importance as a challenge. Now we have to also look at the position of this weed. Because while I heard St. Lucia speaks of the unpleasant stench, we have to take into consideration the people who are going to be dealing with it if we have to do the removal. So that's an issue that we have not yet looked at. And so we have to see how and where we would make the deposition of those weeds. And because I think I may have mentioned earlier that that can also be used for energy. It can be also used for composting, and it can be used for other maybe components that we are not aware of in the Caribbean. So again, that's why I talk about finance. So finance has to be dealt with all of these necessaries so that we can be aware as to what we require to really make this thing a strong program for all of us in the region. I think if we don't do it well, it makes no sense starting something and not do it well, and then we find ourselves into worse situations. So we have to start creating the knowledge base, not only of just us as human beings to find out what needs to be done, but we have to create the knowledge base that is required as to what best equipment that we require, what kind of outfit that people are going to be dealing with the sargassum. We need to get all of these things. And in saying all of this, we need to now find out how we can collaborate, how we can coordinate, because the local authorities can create their own regions. So in Dominica, where this thing is really popular, you have it on the eastern side of Dominica, northeast of Dominica. So you have in the northeast Tibo, Marigot. You have it in the area of Cassibros in the east. In the southeast, you have Point Michel, Soufriere, Scott's Head. These communities are seeing a lot of that weed. So we have to start creating regions in our parts so that we can be able to tackle this. Because the reason why I said regions is because every region has a different upbringing, a different idea of how to go about doing things. So I would like to see that the area of finance is looked at, and how finance can be able to help us to solve it. But in the same vein, I would like to see a framework is created. And out of that framework, we can have a better understanding as to how to tackle and to how to deal with the issue of finance. And pause for the time.
No, thank you so much. And I think those issues around coordination and also around financing are key issues that we'll definitely be bringing forward as part of this kind of peer network, no question. Councillor Williams, did I see you wanting to come in again?
Yes. To add to the contribution of Mr. Joseph, whilst we were on the issue of equipment necessary for the disposal of the sargassum, one key issue that kept raising in my community of Point Michel, because I come from a fishing community, and the sole income of the people there, the fishermen there, is fishing. And so we have found ourselves whereby a few individuals have tried, attempted in extracting the sargassum in certain areas where fishing takes place. And so going back to what Mr. Joseph said, the coordination with local authorities, central government, and fisheries department in sensitizing residents in the areas affected is a challenge as we speak, because no one is aware of the extraction method. And what they are saying is, do we wait until this thing just lands on shore? How long is it going to take before it disappears again? And so we have no information on this. So I'm just saying that is a challenge that is added. So even with the equipment that would be necessary for extraction, but then they have knowledge of the method of extraction.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I mean, I think, yes, that kind of like, what is it that we know? Where is the data? What are kind of the most useful things that have been gathered from across kind of the countries that are being impacted is going to be kind of a key consideration and something that we want to very much bring into this group. I think we have our colleagues from Nevis that we haven't heard from yet. So maybe we can call on you to introduce yourself and just share with us some perspectives, some key challenges, some of the actions that are already happening on the ground. Kiana Fargas, I think you're here from Nevis, is that correct? Yannick, are you able to join us? Let's see if we can come back to them a little bit later. Are there any other inputs that at this point anyone would like to make on kind of key challenges, responsibilities of local government, and what would be most useful going forward? Oh, please, Ms. Williams, please go ahead.
Yes, so in reference to challenges again, coming to responsibilities, you just mentioned responsibilities. So as we see, this is a sanitation and local welfare as it relates to the upkeep of the environment, clean air for residents, and matters the public health issues. As you know, councils are part of grassroots governance structures and they support community welfare and public health functions. And so we need a lot of assistance in that again, in going back to what Mr. Joseph mentioned, financing, to employ truckers with systems, peer systems, to mobilize, sensitize the public or residents in the affected areas so that they can have an understanding of the issues of Sargassum. It's a new area for me, like I said in my introduction, but I have had to read up a lot on it since being introduced about 3 weeks ago. However, the residents of our communities, they don't pay attention to reading materials, or people learn more by listening. And so if we can bombard them with the information, public speaking, radio, social media platforms, videos, nature, things of to that nature, and the challenges that we face in that. All these things can be organized with central government and local government, but again, the finance is a hindrance in getting all of these things executed. So organizing seems to be something that is very feasible, but then to carry them out, to execute, we have the hindrance of finance again. So I just wanted to share that before we move on to another aspect of the discussion.
Hi.
So maybe, please go ahead, Diana.
Sorry, I heard my name.
Can I switch off here?
Yes, I think you're here from Neva's Council. We wanted to just
introduction. Yes,
introduce yourself, maybe share some key issues, please.
I'm from the Nevis Disaster Management, junior clerk. I'm just here to learn whatever I can about this topic. Thanks for having me.
Great to have you with us. So maybe at this point we can call on our colleague Louisa from the SARC project, just to tell us a little bit about what that project is doing and kind of your work kind of perspective going forward, because I know kind of some of this like capitalizing on some of the economic, potential economic benefits of Sargassum is within your work program. So Louisa, is this a good time for us to hear a little bit about your program? Louisa, are you still with us? Oh, perhaps she's having some challenges in connecting. So Louisa, when you are able to connect, we would love to hear a bit more about the program. Colleagues, if there aren't any other kind of like pressing inputs, I can do a little summary of some of the key kind of focal areas that I have heard from you. So looking at coordination, intergovernmental coordination, intermunicipal coordination, and interdepartmental coordination for action is a key focal area. I think looking at the cycle of action. So, what are we doing in the preparation phase? What are we doing in the crisis phase? How are we kind of dealing with things once once that has already passed. So kind of like almost like a preparation or a template for how to react and who should be reacting is a key focal area. Then, of course, collection systems, both in terms of public health, but also in terms of equipment, and, with a focus on that coordination issue is also kind of a key priority, as well as, looking at how can we support existing economic sectors, but maybe also looking at kind of emerging economic sectors and what opportunities might be there. As well as kind of building on best practice, knowledge, and data from across the region, both to kind of be prepared in advance, to know better when and where sargassum is going to arrive, but then also, drawing on that knowledge, expertise, and data in addressing the issues. So I think, these are definitely focal areas that we can look to further develop. I would have loved to have Louisa kind of tell us a little bit about the program that they are currently running. And here she is. Fabulous. So please, over to you, Louisa. I was about to steal your thunder and tell people the things that you're doing. So no, I would much rather it come from you.
It's so crazy because I heard you say my name. Getting ready to give me the floor. And right at this very moment, I think current just went for like 2 minutes. So I got disconnected and then obviously I was about to get back up. So thank you so much. So just to say, first of all, that I'm very, again, I very happy to have been there today. So I'm not sure I can stay so much longer after 11:30 because I already have a meeting planned. But indeed, the contributions that were made by the participants were really kind of reinforcing what we already know. And I'm really hoping that with, the assistance of the SARSI project, but also with the assistance of the other initiatives that are ongoing, that we can, contribute to all of us, bring together to be able to manage the issue of sargassum. And of course, I mean, the issue that were raised in terms of finance, in terms of the need for collaboration. I heard a lot also about the health related impacts. So, it's really issue that all these initiatives I'm hoping can contribute to, bring solutions to. So indeed, I have just I prepared a few slides on the, just to give you an overview of the SARSI project. So let's see if I can share my screen with you.
Give me 1 second. I need to enable you.
Yeah, okay.
Sorry. Sorry. Here we go. Oh, sorry about that. Okay. You should now be able to share your screen.
Yeah, let me see. Send a message saying that the organizer has deactivated screen sharing by participants.
Sorry, 1 moment.
Okay.
Deactivated screen sharing. Who's the organizer?
Sorry, I can't find the place to enable you.
Maybe it's, I don't know how heavy my thing is. Maybe it's easier. I can just see if I can send it to you very quickly by email and you can.
Absolutely. No
Maybe try
problem.
again. Still getting that.
I've done it, Claire.
Oh, thank you. All set. Thank you. There you go. You should be able to share now.
Okay, great. Can you see it now?
Yes, absolutely. Looks great.
Okay, so let me go to the beginning. Okay, so I'm not seeing. So you see the first slide, the title, I'm guessing. I'm not seeing what you are seeing, but yeah. Is it in presentation mode or not?
It's not in presentation mode.
Okay. How about now? Now it should be good, right?
Yes, now it's in presentation mode.
Okay. Great. So again, I mean, thank you for the opportunities for being here today. So I'm going to give a quick overview of the SARC project. So SARC stands for Sargassum Regional Strategies for Ecosystem-Based Actions. So basically, it's a project that is funded by the French Agency for Development, AFD. And like I said earlier, it's being implemented by Expertise France, which is a technical collaboration agency in collaboration with the OECS Commission. So I'm going to say a bit more about that in a few. So the total budget for this project, which is supposed to be running from 2025 to the end of 2028, is 8 million euros. And the main partners that we have, again, the OECS Commission, which plays a key role, obviously, in terms of regional coordination, the AFD, which is the funding partner, and also the IRD, which is a research partner. It's the French Institute for Research and Development. And I'll say a bit more about what they're doing and how they are a partner on the SARC project a bit later on. And in terms of the objective of this program, of this project, is to minimize and limit negative impacts of sargassum strandings on local economies, communities, and coastal ecosystems. So I should also mention at this stage that we are working primarily, and this comes out of the sort of feasibility or diagnosis study that was done prior to the design of the SARC project. So we're working primarily with 4 OECS member states, those being the Commonwealth of Dominica, St. Lucia, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and Grenada. Of course, we know that the OECS is not just these 4 members. So again, we're sort of counting on them, and they've reminded us many times, we are not just 4 member states, so this is totally understandable. We are counting on the OECS Commission to kind of make sure and work with the the full membership of the Commission. Just to mention also that we have a cross-cutting outcome in the SARC project, which is aimed at integrating gender into sargassum management. When we say gender, so we have someone working with us to produce a gender action plan. The idea is to look at issues related to gender, such as when, of course, we know that women are differently impacted depending on the role that they play in the communities. In terms of health-related impacts as well, there are studies and research coming out kind of showing that, for example, pregnant women are, may have severe consequences from being, in close proximity with sargassum, etc. So this is all this kind of issue that we're trying to look at when we speak about gender. So how
sorry, excuse me.
Yes.
Can you go back to the first slide, please?
Yes.
Yeah, it's very interesting that Matnik, who's an observer of the OECS, has been able in putting their concerns to the OECS in developing their 8 million budget. I would like to know and to source from you. I expect the AFD to be involved because it's an agent of the French. But with the OECS Commission, how did your organization was able to get in with the OECS to really help in funding? Because earlier on, I made the statement that finance is our biggest liability. And here it is saying that you have a project of some $8 million and thinking of tackling the OECS Commission. Give us in your preamble, in your presentation, give us some information as to how that is able to done, so that it was able to be done, and so that we can learn from what you have done, and we too, and because here it is, we have our commissioner, our local government commissioner on board, because we have the same kind of concerns, same kind of challenges. We can really work towards getting that success.
I mean, from what you're saying, you're basically trying to say, how is it? So first of all, it's not Martinique. So the project team is based in Martinique, in Fort-de-France. I mean, it could have also been based in Guadeloupe. Basically, it's not a Martinique project, if you wish. It's really the AFD, and I know for a fact that the AFD has been funding the OECS Commission on other projects. For example, I know they have an ongoing, I think it's a mangrove restoration projects, and they have different mangrove sites in Guadeloupe, Martinique, but also St. Lucia, and I may forgetting other islands as well. But it's really, again, and when I go on, I'm hoping you get some answers, because I will basically explain what kind of role the OECS is playing. The thing is that in designing this project, like I said, it was decided, of course, after some research and some analysis that were done. It was decided that those 4 countries that I mentioned earlier on would be those that would be the main beneficiaries of the actions carried out under the SARC project. But really and truly, the idea for us was really to ensure that there is a more local, so to speak, local ownership and buy-in by member states, and obviously being represented by the CS Commission. But I'm going to continue, and of course, if it's not sufficiently clear, we can speak more about it. But yeah, the OECS does play a key role under this project. So the first component of this project is one that was designed and thought of to kind of strengthen regional cooperation. The idea here is that we want to contribute again to harmonize planning methodologies and management approaches to scale up international awareness of the issue. To make a long story short, I've heard it earlier today, Sargassum is not a one country or one region problem. We spoke about West Africa, so we need to make sure that as we have a voice that is as loud as possible, so to speak. Under this, so that's the reason why under this first component of the project, the geographical scope is a bit broader than the 4 OECS member states that I just mentioned. So under this first regional cooperation component, we are working with Belize, Mexico, the Dominican Republic, as well as Martinique and Guadeloupe. Just to mention as an example very quickly, that a couple of weeks ago this was done in collaboration with another OECS project, but we had a study, we co-organized a study visit in Martinique and Guadeloupe, where we had people from Montserrat, Antigua, I think St. Lucia, Dominica, and others, coming basically to Martinique and Guadeloupe to see how Sargassum is being managed. Obviously, we also have our challenges, that is for sure, but we have some, we could learn from each other, and that's the idea behind it. So that's what we're trying to do. So sharing best practices, sharing lessons learned, and what can be replicated, and what should probably be done. Okay.
Sorry. Before you go,
yeah.
I'm listening attentively to your presentation, and I'm very impressed.
Yes.
I want to find out also, like I have seen in Martinique, that you'll have taken garbage to create energy and to do other things with garbage. In reference to Sargassum, when you all gather and you all clean the beaches or the seashores, what is the final product that comes up from that project that you're doing? That's just intrigued me.
I mean, that's a very interesting question. But for now, honestly, we are looking at pilots. For example, there is a company in Martinique here that is trying to look at how they actually receive funding for that. They're actually trying to look at how they can use not only Sargassum but other waste as well, to kind of produce like sort of fertilizer, to make a long story short. I know sargassum, obviously in Martinique, is also being collected at sea. On a number of locations in Martinique, you have booms to kind of prevent the sargassum from reaching the shores and so on. So, and then they really have some interesting method in terms of collecting the sargassum after it reaches the shore. And after like a 48-hour period, they let it dry and then they use it on the beach. And it kind of, they actually showed us that it was this method that had allowed them to improve where the beach erosion actually was less important with the health, so to speak, of the various layers of dry sargassum that were put on the beaches. So it's a number of things like that, but again, I don't think we can say that there is one definite method that is the solution, not even in Martinique. I mean, what you have in terms of research, in terms of initiatives that are being done, what you have so far are like pilots. And obviously we are hoping that, with time, we can kind of confirm this pilot and scale them up, so to speak. To go back to how
Sorry. I'm sorry to be interrupting, but it's just an interesting presentation. So let me ask Sandra and Claire. I'm seeing a very good practice or best practice thus far in Martinique. How can we, to get firsthand, because local government is about firsthand, how can we get not just a presentation, but to see firsthand, how can we find countries of the region with that problem to visit Martinique and to see how exactly that they're going through in the creating that best practice that can help solve it?
I mean, I think, what we would really like to hear is the wide experience that the SARC project is undertaking, but also what they're doing. They're working in 4 countries, so it's not just work in Martinique, it's also Dominica, St. Lucia, and the Grenadines, and St. Vincent, I think. Sorry if I'm not getting the countries right. But one of the things that we absolutely want to do in this network is look at how we can network, of course, among local governments, look at how we can do some experience sharing, but also look how we can link into the programmatic work that's happening from other actors and agencies. So we really would like to hear all of what Luzia has to say in terms of her presentation, in terms of framing this full project for us. But it absolutely is something that we'll be, looking at, what is the most logical way to link local government into some of that programmatic work. So Luzia, over to you, because I know you have to leave very, very soon. So let you finish this overview. And this, just remember, is only the beginning of this discussion. We'll have more opportunities to interact.
Yeah. I do hope so. So under the second component of the project, this is the one under which we are working closely with the OECS Commission. So the idea here is to contribute to structuring the sargassum value chain and kind of make sure that we can integrate sargassum management into adaptation strategies and validation experiments. So I was just mentioning some initiatives. We have several that have come out, and we need to make sure and we can validate these. And the second component, out of the full budget that I mentioned for the entire SARC project, the OECS was the direct recipient of a 1 million euro grant. And with this grant, the OECS is supposed to be working, and the OECS will be working with their member states. So again, the 4 primarily that I mentioned, working towards strengthening and structuring how those states respond and manage the issue of sargassum. So for example, with the creation of fully functional and operational sargassum task forces, for example, or national coordinating mechanism, depending on how you want to call it. So I'm sure some of you may have heard that, for example, Grenada has an operating task force, a sargassum task force, and they've kind of organized it in different working groups for themes and so on. So we are hoping that the other three primary beneficiary countries can kind of work towards having a coordination mechanism like that, because we know, of course, that when we say, when we talk about the impacts of sargassum, we talk about fishery, we talk about tourism, we talk about health, etc. And then, of course, not to forget the issue of finance. That is key. So everyone needs to be, around the same table. So this is what we're looking at. Under the second component as well, we did issue a call for proposals. So the deadline was just last month, and we are in the process of evaluating those proposals. And I have a few slides just to give you an idea of what came out of these call for projects. But just to finish on about the overall structure of the SARC project, the third component is a regional scientific cooperation one. You remember that I mentioned the IRD, the Research Institute. And under this component, we basically, the institute that we're working with is really working towards a collective scientific assessment. That's how they call it. And the idea is to look at what we know already about sargassum and what we still don't know and what we actually do need to know. So priorities in terms of knowledge gaps and where the research needs to be focused, and what is the state of the art, basically, when it comes to sargassum. And of course, the idea is, again, to increase the global understanding of the phenomenon and to support or receive development of evidence-based policies. So this research work is being conducted by a number of experts that are, representing the region, the wider regions. We have very well-renowned experts from the Dominican Republic, from Guadeloupe, from I may forgot where they are from, because I'm not directly working with under this component. But yes, the hope is that by the end of this, there will be a body of knowledge that can support evidence-based policies in terms of what needs to be done in terms of sargassum. Earlier on, I think some of the participants here this morning spoke about what to know about sargassum, how people can use it, what can they do, what should not be done, and so on. So all of this is kind of part of what this third project component is about. I mentioned the call for proposals. So just to give you an overview, again, I cannot speak to what will receive funding, because we are in the process with experts, evaluators. We are in the process of evaluating what was received. So basically, we did what we call a joint call for proposals, because under the project, we were supposed to have a call for proposals for under the second component, so directed towards private sector entities and CSO in the development and implementation of innovative and sustainable sargassum value chain initiatives. And under the research component that I just spoke about, we were also supposed to have a call for Caribbean-based scientists and research institutions in the production, dissemination, and application of knowledge that is obviously related to sargassum and how it should be managed and what kind of valorization initiatives are feasible and sustainable, and of course the health-related impacts that we need to pay close attention to. So the call that was issued, the idea was to foster innovation, obviously, strengthen regional capacities, and promote integrated approaches to how sargassum is being managed in the region. And the total amount that we had for that was 1.6 million euros spread as 900,000 for lot 1 and 700,000 for lot 2. And why I put 9 member states and territories, because under the second lot, so the research kind of component, we opened it up wider to those other states and territories that I mentioned, being Mexico, the Dominican Republic, Guadeloupe, and Martinique. So in terms of what was proposed, so under lot 1, again, so let's say structuring the sargassum value chain, as you can see on the tables here, we had quite in terms of the geographical coverage, so that's the table on the right, we had 4 projects that were proposing actions in Grenada. 1 in St. Lucia, 2 in St. Vincent, 1 in the Commonwealth of Dominica, but with another country, so that made it like a kind of regional project. And those 2, Mexico, Belize, were outside the scope because, again, this first lot was targeting the 4 main member states. So in terms of the initiatives, you can see here what was proposed. So biostimulant, biochar, that was the majority of what was proposed. 2 projects dealing with biogas and energy production, obviously with Sargassum. 2 focusing on pre-processing and decontamination, and 1 that was proposing to do a Sargassum action management platform. So of course we had several projects that dealt both with production of biostimulants and decontamination of the seaweed. And the main focus, this is what of course we observed, the main focus was agricultural and energy valorization. So to again produce biostimulants, biochar, or biogas. And in terms of the trend was that we saw a growing interest in projects combining decontamination and biostimulant production. In terms now of the second lot, so the research component, we had 3 projects that focused on the One Health approach. So this is the one where you're supposed to, where you're looking at the health of the ecosystems, the environment, and the people, so the community members. So that was the majority. 2 projects dealing with research on biochar technology, and 1 with risk mitigation and sustainable valorization of Sargassum. In terms of the geographical coverage, again, we kind of summarize it here under this table. So 3 with proposed activities in Guadeloupe, 2 in Grenada, 2 in Martinique, and 1 in Mexico, and another 1 in the Dominican Republic, again with activities in another country, making it a kind of a regional cooperation one. Just to quickly conclude on that, the main focus was that the One Health approach was obviously the one that came first. Again, this approach linking human health, environment, and of course process safety. And the trend, was with an emphasis on safety and sustainability in Sargassum transformation. So, I mean, I thought this would be useful to give you an idea of what were the ideas, what were the initiatives that were proposed. Obviously, this is very probably you may find it very vague and not very detailed at this point, but we are in the process of finalizing the review with, again, the assistance of experts and evaluators who are helping us with that. And we are hoping that, within the next couple of weeks, we'll be able to fund. So it won't be a lot of projects because, as you can imagine, as you know, those projects cost a lot, and when you think about it, 1.6 billion, it may sound like a lot of money, but when you deal with these kind of projects, it adds up very quickly. So yeah, so that's what I wanted to say about first the SARC project as a whole and the call for projects that we issued recently. Thank you very much.
Louisa, thank you so much for sharing that experience with us. I know you have to leave, but can we just ask a little bit about your timeline for when you're expecting to kind of have signed off on those projects? Because I can see already from this group that there's a lot of interest in knowing more about them, potentially linking in with them when that's in the same country as the members of this group. So can you just give us a little idea of when that might be so that we can also kind of plan that into our wider coordination?
Yeah, so basically, we are at the end of June. So by, I think, mid-July, we'll have a clear idea and probably the definitive answers. Obviously, as you can imagine, when you're dealing with hundreds of thousands of dollars being allocated and attributed to a process like this, there's also all kinds of due diligence and kind of procedures, legal and so on that have to be, that are part of the process. But like I said, I'm hoping that by mid-July, we will be clear on what projects and initiatives can move forward. The thing too that I should mention here is that we are planning when we have like a clear idea of what we are thinking about funding, we are planning to liaise with our colleagues, our partners at the OECS, so that they also can get a sense of what is coming. Again, I mean, Josette, I think she never joined the meeting, but she was supposed to be here. But again, we've been working closely with her and her team. Really, and kind of, we are in Martinique and we are obviously implementing this project, but at the end of the day, we really want the CS Commission to, to play their role and to be involved in the entire process. And I should also mention that I could say so much more of the project, obviously, but just to mention also that we do have project focal points, again, that are supposed to be, playing this role of kind of being our eyes and ears on the ground. So we have project focal points in the 4 countries. So again, I mean, they are our point persons there. So yeah, so we're really trying to, see how best we again contribute to solutions.
Wonderful. So Louisa, just to say a big thank you to you for coming and sharing what the project's doing. I think this is the beginning of our coordination with you, not the end all be all, just this presentation. So that is absolutely something that we'll be taking forward. We're also, working to look at how we link in with the OECS, specifically kind of from that local government perspective. How do we link into kind of their wider program of work? But we would also really love to be able to link local government into the program of work that you have underway and see how we can also support that coordination from the local government side. So colleagues, I know, oh, sorry, please go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, really, I really would appreciate being, kept in the loop. If there's like a quick report, in terms of what was the outcome of this meeting. And again, my perspective is a different one from the majority of the participants here, but it's really interesting for us. Because again, it's really when we know what is going on and how people experience, the phenomenon and what kind of concrete, tangible challenges they are faced with, that we can also, kind of adapt and adjust our actions and, maybe prioritize this over this. And, for example, I mean, again, time is short, but I heard some participants mentioning equipment. I mean, under the OECS project budget, there is, some funding for equipment. So really and truly, it's really useful and interesting, obviously, for us as the SARS project to be in touch with this kind of initiatives. And I want to again, congratulate you and thank you for that. So, and of course, I can leave I'll leave my contact information in the chat before I log off. So that if there are any additional questions, of course, feel free to to get in touch. Yeah.
Wonderful. Well, we are bringing the meeting to a close now. So, I mean, I think unless there are any kind of like burning issues or questions that anybody wants to bring, what I can say is this has been a really helpful first discussion to help us think about how best to frame this peer learning platform and what are some of the key issues specifically for local government. How can we support local government at country level to feed into existing programs, but also existing coordination structures and to respond to the existing and emerging policy context within national governments around the response to Sargassum, but also how can we support local government to support its local community. So both in terms of, key economic sectors at the local level, but also in terms of, community outreach, health issues, awareness raising. So these are all kind of key issues that we're going to take back into the framing of what kind of the next steps of this peer kind of exchange and project support can be. What we would ask from the side of everyone who's been here today is that we would really like to hear back from you on whether you would like to continue as a member of this platform of exchange and working together. If you are interested in that, then what we will do is we'll put together, like a small kind of WhatsApp group that will then kind of have us as a coordinating kind of group. And we will try and do some country by country follow-up on the kind of programmatic work that we could be taking forward before hopefully reconvening with a bit more of a clear program of work for what we're going to be able to do in this 2026-2027 period. Sandra, you're on mute, but I can see you wanting to come in. Please go ahead.
In the meantime, do you have a copy of her presentation, Louisa's?
No, Louisa needs to send it to us after this call, so that would be great.
I will do that, no problem. I will. And of course, I do remain available if, there are other questions on some other key aspects or components of projects, of course. Wonderful. Okay, all right. I'm logging off now.
Before she goes,
Thank you.
Before she goes quickly, I realized in reading that there are also some very good benefits from the weed, especially for the fish life and the turtles. How do we tackle the negative to the human side? And looking at our food cycle, which fish is very important, how do we now tackle this in terms of getting it away? Because we have seen in North America how they take advantage of that weed with their marine life. How do you help us to have a better understanding in terms of the marine life in our parts, which, as we all know, that the dolphins and the tuners don't have a large basin of food, but the sargassum is a very, and that's why it's not a surprise why you see it on the eastern coast of the region and sometimes the southeast. So for instance, in Dominica, the southwest of Dominica is where the tourists, in terms of looking at the dolphins and so on. How do you help us to have a greater understanding as to how we manage and not damage?
I think that's again a very interesting but very specific question. I don't think I personally have the answer to that. What I can tell you is that I think it's a matter of priority, setting the priorities, and can we obviously we should be able to kind of prevent and manage this issue a lot better without it being at the expense of the marine life and the biodiversity. But again, it's like, for example, I know, just to give you a quick example, in Martinique, there is an area where they actually collect the sargassum at sea that is being blocked by booms, and then they go like further further and they kind of sink it. And so the question was asked, okay, but do you know what are the effects of that? And they said, well, no, for now we don't have the answer, but it's just what we have found as the most feasible and the best solution at the moment. And of course, there's research that is being conducted to kind of see the potential effects, over the kind of medium to long term of this practice. So yeah, it's what I think everybody has come to realize by now. It's how the issue of dealing with sargassum and managing it is multi-layered. So there are a number of factors that have to be taken into account, and when you think you may have found a way, well, there's probably another issue that will arise, and so it's really it's how to juggle and again to prioritize what's kind of more important. So, but again, I'm hoping that the sargassum, the scientific collective assessment that I mentioned that is being conducted by the institute we're working with. I think they are obviously dealing with that. The collective scientific assessment, they have a group of experts, and they have basically divided the experts into working groups for, again, topics. And so if you want, I can send you more information about that to see kind of how they tackle the issue of, like marine life and biodiversity, and the impacts of Sargassum.
And I think also your program is linked into the Sargassum Hub as well, which is, really working to be a compendium of information on Sargassum and a really strong resource across the region for kind of the things that are being developed and taken forward in terms of research, but also in terms of action. So colleagues, such a pleasure to have you all with us.
Thank you again, everyone. All right.
Thank you.
We'll be in touch. Bye-bye.
So colleagues, just it leaves to me to thank you all for attending the meeting today. We'll follow up with a short note of some of the key outcomes, as well as kind of like this request to you to whether you would like to remain part of this peer group. And then we will also follow up with some more country-focused discussions around kind of key focal areas and things that we can put together as part of this program of peer learning over the next year and a half, to be able to kind of reconvene this group to share a bit of our program plan, hopefully in the coming few months. So thank you so much for your time today.